esportsbets.com, a unique place for true gamers. The only place to bet on esports events. You know your way around a competitive gaming scene and are willing to take a risk? Watch regular broadcasts and earn real money. esportsbets.com. Foresight, passion, and calculation.
Starladder falls! Liquid's doing it! They're gonna take! He's gonna bring down Burning! Alone with a double kill! Dropping fast! Mana points there! He's still alive! Wait, oh, second slide! He's got one side! He's got a second! He's taking it! Oh my god! On three! They're all dead!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A very short break as we had a long game one to get things started. First Departure versus Awake is coming up here. The draft is already underway. Before we get into it, though, Blaze, I just want to clear up something that last game. I PM'd Winter asking, what's the deal with Mjolnir Warlock? Is this new meta? And his response, just about word for word, was, I didn't really know what to buy. I just wanted to push lanes, and I don't really play that hero that much. So there you have it. He had some extra money and decided, why not just do a little bit of extra damage with my hard-earned cash?
Nice. Excellent.
So, yep, there you have it. But Awake versus First Departure. First Departure, the pretty heavy favorites here. I think it's like 80-20 on the bets. And, well, we'll see how they do here as we can hop right on into the draft. And, oh, Meepo.
Yep, the tried and true Meepo. No, it's like one of those heroes that you either play insanely well and you can do crazy things with, or it kind of falls flat and you wonder why you picked it in the first place. But the important thing, I would say, is the fact that it's been picked up so early. Like a Meepo 4th pick and 5th pick is relevant for some teams, like in this case, like SEA Pub Stars, but I don't know. If you pick it up this early on, it feels like First Departure had plenty of room to answer it. And I mean, there are so many different heroes that can, and they're not even banning them. Like Viper ban, I worried, Meepo's worried about his laning phase. I don't know. It's just when there's so much you can do against it. Obviously, Ember's out of the pool, but things like Earthshaker, things like Lich can cause him some real grief. And we've even seen Enchantress do a lot of work with him in the past.
Yes, indeed. And the first pick, Naga, is even a little bit different. Certainly, she's still quite powerful. This pretty similar beast that she has been with all that farm and how quickly she can ball out of control. But few teams have been prioritizing her as a first pick, and even a first banning couplet on the Ember Spirit is slightly different than what we're used to. First Departure is doing it their own way here, Blaze.
Yeah, well, Miracle likes to draft his own way. He loves his Naga Siren. He doesn't want to be counteracted by the Ember, so he's like, screw it. I can just carry my team no matter the case if I have my Naga and I'm not counteracted by Cleave. So he's just drafting around that mentality while making sure the side lanes are set up for success here. It looks like it's going to be maybe a Juggernaut Dazzle combo. I don't expect it to be a support Juggernaut here because Dazzle just doesn't provide enough early disable unless you have like a carry that has a disable, I don't know, a Wraith King or something. I just don't see it being set up well enough that you could play the Juggernaut in a supportive sense.
Yes, indeed. Dazzle is really not a good position 5. He's much better in that kind of position 4. He needs a little bit of farm and, more importantly, experience to really come online. He's one of those supports that every ability is worth leveling to some degree, especially early on. So if he can find some early experience in either hero kills or just some lane priority, certainly is the way of it. And he also doesn't really jungle that well, which is something other position 5s kind of bring to the table over him. I also like the synergy between Dazzle and Naga Siren. You can the weave will stack charges through the Song of the Siren, and also just all that minus armor mixed with all that physical damage makes them a pretty scary set of heroes in team fights. But we'll see even more interesting heroes come out. Skywrath for Awake and Tuskar, 4th pick for First Departure.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Tusk is one of those heroes that I feel like is actually secretly imbalanced, but nobody knows how to actually capitalize on it. So he's still gonna just sit there in a kind of average sense until like 2 major pro players start, or even just one, just starts playing out of his mind with him, because there's so much potential in the snowball of just dealing crazy amounts of damage and getting everybody in the right position. And of course, the defensive aspect is very noteworthy as well. I mean, that's 4 seconds of essentially phase shift for your team if they're nearby, and that can be pretty insane as well up against heroes like Skywrath. There could be some big saves.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we'll see what Awake want to do with their 4th pick here. They'll burn most of their bonus time thinking about it, and they need a little bit of everything. We still don't know if it'll be a core or support Meepo, but with that Chikiro pick, seems it will indeed be farming Mappo.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they'll be able to accomplish with it. It really depends on the player, and I only actually know a couple of these guys. BSR, Bungsel Roti, and Solotic I'm quite familiar with from the teams they played on in the past, but the others not so much. So whoever's picking it up, we'll have to keep their eye on him. But yeah, it's really hard to say exactly how it will perform. Even though First Departure knew what they were going into, they don't seem to have drafted specifically against the Meepo, and that's an important trap also to not fall into, is you don't want to draft like 5 different things to counter one hero, because there's still 4 others on the map. So in this case, they seem to have taken a casual approach to the Meepo pick, and we'll see if the 5th pick is actually more of a direct counteraction.
Reserve time.
Yes, indeed. You know, heroes like your Earthshaker come to mind. Lich, those are 2 supports that tend to work pretty well against the Meepo. The Earthshaker in particular is a little bit easier to execute, I think. The Lich, I don't know. There's so many Meepos that it almost makes the Lich Ultimate less potent, because until he gets an Ag Scepter, it just absorbs all the bounces. And unless you get really, really unlucky, the Meepo can kind of spread apart the hurt rather than have it be more focused. But we'll see. First Departure have a little bit of an option here. Naga or Juggernaut could double as a support if they were so inclined and wanted to grab, you know, a different core. But even this Tusk, I guess, could be a position 4 or a farm, and he's kind of up in the air.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think it's going to be an offlane Tusk, a solo mid Naga, and then a safe lane Juggernaut with Dazzle and another support. But really, I mean, this is Miracle. He can draft it however the hell he feels like, and there are a lot of different ways to take it here. I don't think aggressive tri-lane would be a good stance, considering what they're up against here. Concussive plus Jakiro's damage, it's just like, it's actually pretty scary to deal with that, whether the Razor's in the safe lane or the Meepo is.
Yeah, that's a true statement right there. And there's also some good synergy with the Meepo and Jakiro and early kill potential. You connect with an Earthbind, you should be able to land an Ice Path, or even vice versa. You hit with one of those skill shots, you know there's going to be follow-up damage coming, and as the experience comes out, that'll just get more and more potent, especially as more Meepos come out onto the field as well. But First Departure will take their time. They've got plenty of reserve time here as they decide what they want to grab. They are a pretty melee-heavy team, so I think they're probably caught in that conundrum. Do we want something like an Earthshaker here, or do we want to grab more of a ranged support of sorts? Mirana could potentially be an option, not particularly strong against Meepo, but there's some synergy there with Tusk setting it up with his, what are they called there? The Ice Shards, or Naga with her net for arrows, if they wanted a Mirana to roam around and get some Moonlight Shadow utility. Could be an option here.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it, and it's hard. Like, I honestly could justify half the hero pool with this 5th pick, because they can work it in so many different ways, and the flexibility is nice, but in the end, they have to make a decision. 5 seconds left on reserve time, and Miracle is going to end up going with the Rubik here. So a flexible hero in his own right, very reactive, but I mean, there's only a couple heroes that the spell skills are really good from. Razor's spells, other than Plasma Field, require Rubik to stay in the fight very actively, and he doesn't generally like to do that. And the Meepo steals, the hero is balanced so that his skills can apply 3, 4, 5 times over, not just the once. And it's completely pointless to steal from a Meepo. So Rubik right now, he's really about the positioning control with Telekinesis and getting a couple of good spell steals from Skywrath and Jakiro, while partially nullifying their damage via the Null Field.
Yeah. I mean, stealing Earthbind is... Whoops, a daisy. That's my bad. Opened up the console by accident. I mean, stealing an Earthbind, if someone's trying to, like, TP out for the interrupt utility, is about the only time I think you'd want to spell steal a Meepo. Poof is pretty useless on Rubik, and you've already got a Naga Siren with a net, so that, in the context of this game, it's even kind of more pointless to try and pick on that Meepo with spell steal. But Undying, the final pick for Awake, a hero that we really don't see too often. Blaze, give us the skinny on what Dirge is up to.
I love Undying in this situation. You get so many slowing effects in place, whether you're earth binding them down, whether you're concussive, you get the dual breath, the ice path. There was a point where Jakiro's ice path was actually 100 damage at level 1, and Jakiro Undying was the strongest tri-lane in the game, and it was run 100 different times because it was just like the most imbalanced thing. And he still has a lot of presence here because of the slowing effects. They keep him on the tombstone, and early game, there's not that much right-click damage from first departure to kill the tombstone off. Everybody has okay right-click damage, but it's not like the tombstone's only going to last 2 or 3 seconds, and then it will be a non-factor. It still will have presence, and right now, as far as ways to kill off the zombies, I'm seeing the Shadow Wave, and that's about it.
This is actually Miracle on Naga, right? Is his thing public? You know it's because their names again are usually Starladder is pretty serious about making sure people use their real names, but it seems today we're just not too worried about it. Okay, so this is actually Miracle. Well, that's
so to run through the roster a little bit here. I've kind of been spending half the draft just figuring out who the hell these guys are, since we didn't really have any turnover time between the two games. So private profiles always make that difficult. But anyways, it's going to be Naga Siren played by Miracle. Dafa is going to be taking up the Tusk. KS on the Rubik. That's going to leave Lubby on the Dazzle, and Kai on the Juggernaut.
Lubby and Kai. Okay, so no stand-ins for FD, just tagged up all silly. Try to remember that it's Lubby on the Dazzle, but I usually, whenever the players don't tag up appropriately, I try to punish them by using their hero names only.
Sure.
Or trying to make light of their silly names, because that is one of my pet peeves. But on the side of Awake, that's where we're having a connection issue here. I don't see any stand-ins. We've got YO2 on the Jakiro here. Nori will be on the Razor. Solo, is that Solo Tick? How do you say that name?
Solo Tick.
Solo Tick on the Undying. And Mr. Manor on the Skywrath. And here we go. Mr. Meepo himself finally loaded in. That'll be Bungsel Rody. Is that correct?
Yeah, I usually say BSR, but
BSR, okay.
He switched between the
All right,
two,
BSR.
abbreviated and not. But yeah, those are the two that I know pretty well. Solotic and Bungsel Roti are pretty good players in my mind. Like, they're not the top tier of SCA. They're not about to be shipped into China for the new Dream Team, but they are really powerful players in their own right. And I have pretty high expectations, especially for BSR and the Meepo. So we'll have to keep an eye out for it. But a lot of it comes down to how effective they are in the laning phase. They certainly drafted for the laning phase with the supports here. So I think there's a lot of potential for just absurd kill momentum if FD is not very cautious about how they play it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Undying is one of the best early level heroes. Him and Ogre are the two I always think of in those first few levels. Not a hero you want to square up with. Very, very tanky, and with that decay, if he opts to put a few early points in that, the strength steal adds up pretty quick. You get a couple of stacks on that, and you are pretty darn squishy compared to good old Undying. So, yeah, not a hero you really want to man up against early on. Let's see how the lanes will settle down. Looks like for first departure, Rubik will be headed down bottom. We've got Naga Siren headed mid. No big surprise about that. The Miracle Naga. Right now there is a trap set about the top rune. We've got a Tusk, Dazzle, Juggernaut trio camping it out and perhaps hoping to grab the initial rune, and maybe even there is a smoke on the Juggernaut, who did start boots first. So they are ready for this Blade Fury to commence. They will find an invisibility at this first rune spawn, and it gets picked up by the Juggernaut. There is some pretty serious kill potential here with boots first on the Juggernaut.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, in general, grouping up as 3 for a snowball engage could be very powerful, but we'll see how much damage he can really deal to his targets. Meepo's not a great target because of his high base magic resistance. That's 35%. So he's not as easy to bring down, and of course Naga's not going to start off with her ensnare. But if we rotate a bunch in, we should see a snowball engage here onto YO2. Will they get it in time, though? A little bit too slow. They don't want to be diving under the tower, and of course that target will be able to kind of judge where the snowball is actually going to go based on their own position.
Yeah, this is a lot of wasted effort from first departure, and they will cut their losses. Tusk as well as Dazzle rotate back towards the top, and with that, Juggernaut will give up as well and just head to the lane. So out of the gate, Razor gets a couple of freebies, 3 and 3 to get things started, but now things will level out a little bit. Looks like they are at least a little bit intimidated by BSR's Meepo, as they put so many resources into a potential early gank that just didn't work out.
Yeah, now it's going to be interesting. Down on bottom is actually going to be two high presence heroes, but not really ones that you traditionally see in a 1v1. It's going to be Undying versus Rubik. And although those heroes can get a lot out of their lanes, it's really going to be when they rotate that they start to make the real impact on the game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an odd matchup indeed. Rubik even starting Boots first here for a little bit of extra chasing potential, and Undying going with the stout shield and some regen. Meanwhile, in the top lane, it is an aggro try now coming out from FD, so not just the solo off-lane Tusk, but I guess this is more of a support Jug. It seems like the Tusk is the one with the farm priority. He's only 4-2 right now, and Juggernaut not interested in the creep, so that position 5 Dazzle we talked about will be a reality for first departure in this game.
Yeah, so not what I expected, but the Blink Dagger on Tusk, if that's what he wants to go for, is extremely powerful for changing up situations. Of course, the traditional build, okay, we're going to actually see a lot of damage from that concussive. Fall through the Ice Path will not connect. He'll just barely step a toe on that one. He's pretty familiar with the Icy Path, so he'll be able to navigate across.
Yes, indeed. And again with these Razor builds, switching it up, this is even more different. Level 3, no points in Static Link. He opted for an early point in Unstable Current over Static Link.
Single target spells would be Poison, the Shadow Poison as well. I keep on mixing that up. It's Poison Touch, but using that along with the Snowball would provide some Purge. It's, I think, really good against Tusk. It's one that I haven't experimented with, how it mechanically interacts, but if the Purge applies before the movement speed is decided, it nullifies Snowball very significantly. But it looks like that went pretty much full distance. They hit the Jakiro and they're spitting out of control.
Yeah, Silence comes out onto Tusk, though. He's tanky enough to take it for now. Juggernaut just can't bring anyone down. Doesn't have the damage from that level 1 Blade Fury. And now this could turn for the worse. Dafa gets the Shallow Grave. That'll keep him alive for now. The Silence on Dazzle comes out just half a second too late from that Skywrath, but...
Oh, wow.
Wait, whoa.
Snowball.
What was that? Oh, the Snowball. I was going to say, at that moment of, whoa, what happened? But will still cost him. Undying actually rotates up top, and that rotation will prove successful as he does secure the First Blood bonus gold.
So that's what I was saying about the Undying, is moving in, you can't really contest him directly. He's got 2 points in Soul Rip, interestingly enough, because there are a lot of units on the board right now, and that is a very powerful nuke in its own right. But from there, I think he's going to be maxing out the Tombstone or the Decay. So here it is, the TP coming in, the reinforcements, and they're going to fight it out 3 versus 3 here, while the Razor actually heads down to the bottom lane. So that's kind of the matchup they're more looking for, is a Razor versus a Rubik. That movement speed advantage, once he gets boots, will be very impactful, assuming that he actually goes for the Static Link build we're familiar with.
Yeah, though Rubik has had so much time to farm. He has brown boots and 950 gold. Regardless of what boots he's going for, he'll have enough for it pretty quickly here, and that will extend the window when Razor can't just pick up those easy kills by chasing him down. We haven't talked about this mid lane too much, the Miracle Naga versus the BSR Meepo, but it's pretty much just been a farm fest. They're within 1 or 2 creep kills of each other, 23 on the Naga, 21 on the Meepo, and they seem pretty comfortable just sitting back and farming away. We've seen a little bit of rune control back and forth from Meepo, throwing out some Earth Binds, but now Naga uses the illusions, and they just go right back to farming away. Naga bottle crowing and spamming that Riptide quite a bit. Meanwhile, up top, Snowball forward right onto Mr. Manor, and out come the Ice Shards as well. There's a small path in the trees. He's just able to come by. Again, Undying with the Tombstone will help things out, and yeah, Juggernaut just TPs out of there, says, see you later, guys. Now Meepo with a Haste Rune joins the party. Earthbind onto Dafa, but again, the Shallow Grave is there. This Dazzle in the right place at the right time. Throws out the wave, and the Ice Path off the mark. Rubik joins the party, not enough to save the Tusk. Undying going deep here, really wants this Dazzle. Meepo almost falls, but TP's out just in the nick of time.
He might die. The tower hit
Undying secures the kill on the Dazzle. All right, Meepo falls. Now can Undying survive? He has the Arcane Boots. He's pretty speedy. Rubik with Arcane Boots as well. Telekinesis up in 5. Healing Salve comes out, and it looks like Undying will survive to tell the tale.
Yeah, that's a huge kill for the Dazzle and the Rubik, getting the killing blow there and getting the gold distribution from a solo mid Meepo. Taking him down right now is pretty much the best time in the game to negate his presence. But I got to say that Undying Tombstone was really spot on. It actually broke down the trees that Skywrath was able to escape through. So Mr. Manor thanking his lucky stars that Undying was there for him. But yeah, it all comes down to these rotations. Who's joining what fight? For now, we see the Spell Steal, first the Plasma Field, now the Decay, kind of taking its toll. KS is really the guy that's making the plays happen. You don't get to say that too often about a Rubik, but in this situation, why the heck not? The only problem with it is that Nori has been farming this whole time and has been catching up quite a bit on CS now, 20 for 13.
Yeah, he had a very slow start, and like you said, dead even with the Rubik. Now has Aquila and Brown Boots, soon to hit level 6, and has put that value point in Static Link. Still going for the Plasma Field primary, but at least has that one ability to steal some damage. Level 1 Static Link is a little bit underwhelming. 7 damage per tick is just... It's just not a lot. It takes way too long for that to charge up, and more often than not, your opponents can react, stun you before you really steal a significant amount of damage. Nori does get pinged out, a rotation from the Juggernaut coming over. He does have a double damager in on, though it just now expires. Rubik will go ahead and steal up the Plasma Field, so there is some potential for a kill here, but Juggernaut, he's only level 2. This support Juggernaut for First Departure has just been lackluster so far. He hasn't conceded a death, but hasn't really brought much to the table yet either.
Yeah, these snowball spin kills should be just that, kills. They should be finding easy pickoffs left and right, but they've only found 1 kill, and that was highly contested. The Meepo all the way across the map practically by the time he did take a fall. So Juggernaut doesn't get a single piece of that. And yeah, he really needs to make some things happen now. Boots, he's got the wards, he's got 2 points in spin, but they need some real initiation.
Yes, they do. So Meepo and Naga still doing what they do best. The Miracle begins the... No, okay. He's doing the Aquila into drums before Radiance build here. We'll pick up the Robe of the Magi Embracer. Still 700 gold in the bank. Miracle's farming really well. Number 1 on net worth right now, but will slow down that Radiance timing so that he can possibly get involved earlier on if need be.
Yeah, but BSR is able to take advantage of the jungle in a way that Naga has yet to. We do see Neatea pulling out a stack on the western hard camp for Miracle, so he's going to be catching up in the same vein of thought. But for right now, BSR is 1 step ahead with the poof stacking. So he's able to not only be in 2 places at one time, stacking while he's farming, but once he collaborates those Meepos, just absolutely destroy them with the AoE damage. While Naga's is a little bit more gradual. The Riptide kind of takes a few uses just to burn down those stacks.
Yeah, definitely. And checking in on the offlane once again, Tusk looking for that level 6, still can't find it to grab the Walrus Punch, but going for a 2-2-0 build here at level 4. What's Dazzle working on? All right, a Shadow Wave primary. 1-1-2 as he's sitting at level 4 as well. Interesting to see that value point in Poison Touch. You'll usually see Dazzles either commit some to the Poison Touch or just ignore it altogether. That first point, 140 damage of all physical, not bad, but not great either.
Undying's in a weird
the
spot.
Ice Shards next to the tower. Could they possibly do something here? Dazzle in the trees, looking for the setup. And no, Awake will just back out.
Yeah, that was an interesting position. I feel that they might have been able to converge on that, but they're in a lot of places at once. Actually, mid lane's where the action's at. It's going to be the last hit for Naga Siren. Miracle will just barely finish off the tower there before Meepo can prevent it. And yeah, the nearly dive going down on the top tier 1.
Yeah, snowball forward out to Undying. He gets off the Flesh Golem before the fight starts. Fade Bolt will fly through, but Jakiro's there, throws a dual breath, and that's enough for First Departure to back off. They won't press the issue. Healing Ward comes out, and even Razor now rotating up top. This is a pretty big rotation on both sides of the coin. Basically everyone except the mid-heroes. Skywrath will head over to Meepo and help him clear out this set of neutrals, but interesting with big rotations, both sides don't really seem that eager to fight as they both just end up retreating to safety and farm in their respective jungles.
Yep, so we're going to see the Arcane Boots come out on top so that you can just kind of spam out its spells a little bit more actively here. That means the Dazzle doesn't have to be so reliant on picking those up in an earlier time. Maybe just gets like a Bracer or something to tank up a little bit and a Magic Wand. We do see Rubik stealing up the Arcane Bolt, but it's only a couple points in it. It doesn't really change the state of the game too much here. So right now, Tusk just really wants to find farm. Dafa really needs to be the utility initiator that they kind of picked him to be. They tried for a couple easy picks with the spins, and that didn't work out for them. They're looking for that Walrus Punch to kind of add a little bit of extra oomph to their initiation, because otherwise this Meepo just spins out of control. His farm is actually pretty absurd.
Yeah, though, to be fair, Miracle is consistently staying 100, 150 gold ahead of him, and it's not even that he's in the lead as much as Miracle is keeping up blow for blow with this Meepo, who has uncontested jungle farm right now. He's been moving around the lanes. He's been pretty efficient so far, and this is kind of a 4-protect-1 on both sides. Both teams seem pretty comfortable just skirmishing at the top lane and making space for their carries to farm, as it were. Bottom lane, Dafa and Solo Tick will go blow for blow, but again, Solo Tick will just be happy to back out and survive. This game and last game are just so different from the SEA games we've seen before, just so much more passive. And we see some plasma fields exchanged in the top lane. TP's coming in from FD, but again, Awake will just throw out an Ice Path and make the retreat. Jakiro won't get so lucky as Miracle sets it up with the Song of the Siren. And level 5 Jakiro will certainly take a fall. Walrus Punch comes out, and it is Miracle that grabs the last hit with that Riptide.
Yeah, it's nice that they can actually get something out of that, but even still, a Song at this stage in the game, it's very long cooldown, and that means they're probably not going to find a pickoff on a Meepo anytime soon. Even still, 3 people are here to defend the tower, and Awake has one more respawn coming in just a moment here. So Meepo has some clones nearby, looking to poof in maybe in the near future, but I don't see First Departure getting too aggressive here after what they've already done.
Miracle using the illusions, though, to do a lot of damage on the Skywrath. Ice Path flies through, but this is almost a dead Skywrath mage, and now they'll dive the tower and try to commit for this. Miracle will go around the backside, and a fight will break out in the mid. There we go. The Walrus Punch forward with the Snowball. Razor will be the first to fall in this fight. Ice Path connects onto Dafa. Solo Tick will lay in a couple of right clicks. Juggernaut will get picked off. And now KS tries to TP home. As he gets a Grave, it will be enough to survive. Tusk will fall at the end. And this whole time, Meepo's had a lot of space to secure a Tier 1 tower kill. I think safe to say Awake come out way ahead in that exchange. And yeah, we'll see that reflected on the gold and experience graphs. As now Miracle trying to make the escape. No Song of the Siren or TP scroll. But it appears he'll be okay as they don't go for the aggression. Instead, he's going to use these illusions to continue doing damage, looking for a follow-up kill on the Skywrath Mage, but they were never able to bring him down, despite all of that damage to start off the engagement.
Yeah, it seemed like a huge mistake to engage in that position. Diving under a tower against an Undying who has that tombstone up and available, that was a huge mistake. They got some good offensive potential early in the fight, but they couldn't disengage on their terms. Again, the Shadow Wave, the only thing that kills off these zombies without auto-attacking them, and they just really couldn't control the movement in that fight. So it costs them quite dearly. They lose out on the gold, and most importantly, that Meepo is just getting huge. Like, yes, the Naga is approaching a Radiance pretty quickly now, but the Meepo already has his Aghanims, an item of almost equal impact, and he's not only able to take the tower, but just make a huge impact across the map.
Yeah, and that's what really tipped the scale there. If Meepo would come to the fight, maybe things would have been different, but he had so much space, and now they'll get a Tier 1 tower kill in the top lane. Razor secures it, and that makes it 2-1 in total tower count now. Bottom lane, Meepo will get initiated upon. Dazzle with the level 1 Poison Touch to get things started. A Walrus Punch right away. Easy poof back to safety, and Meepo will survive, essentially unscathed after taking the Walrus to the face.
Yeah, the only one that can really help in this situation against the Meepo is the Rubik. He actually has a long duration stun. Everybody else is kind of lackluster at best right now for what they provide. The Walrus Punch, Dazzle doesn't even have a stun with Poison Touch right now. The mini stun was removed, so he's pretty lackluster. We do see Naga Siren bottling up a double damage rune. That should be enough to farm with the Sacred Relic right there pretty easily, but I don't know. They are really kind of turtling at this point just to hold their ground, not losing even more towers, but doesn't look like Awake are going to give them the opportunity.
Yes, indeed. And now Awake will group up in the bottom lane with at least 3 heroes. Mech now completed on Undying. So he has a lot more teamfight utility now, and that makes just Awake's presence around the map a lot more scary. Undying will get initiated upon. Does have a Flesh Golem available as the Snowball comes forward. If he can get it off and the Mech, perhaps they can turn this around. He'll take a Walrus Punch, but the damage just isn't there. Now they'll look to dive the tower. TP coming in the tree line. Undying just tanking it up right now. Such a tanky force. Only 15 minutes into this game. Now they move back into the tower. Awake with all of their forces here except the Meepo. Same story for First Departure. Everyone here except Miracle, though he's slithering his way down. Undying bites off more than he can chew as he dives the tower. His team was not ready for it. No follow-up, and he will fall. Now Miracle around the backside. Song of the Sirens there. Will connect on 2. Actually, yep, just 2. Ice Path onto Jakiro, and they'll go for the Skywrath. That's the first kill. Can they get the Jakiro as well? He'll go to TP home. They need the interrupt, and they don't have it. Miracle, no point in the ensnare, and they certainly could have used it there. Mana issues, but just no way to interrupt it.
Yep, now they've gotten the mana issues pretty well resolved with all these arcanes flying about. They've got 3 arcanes at only 16 minutes, so that's pretty insane. But whether or not it will be enough to sustain their push here on the bottom lane, I'm not too sure. They're a very ulti-reliant team, so the fact that Juggernaut has his Omni Slash now available, Dazzle with the Weave, that's 2 great things. But even still, Awake have shown they're willing to go up to bat and try to pull this one through. Meepo with the Aghadim's Blink, like, if anybody, the thing is, they're kind of forced to 5-man, because if anybody goes solo, they're just going to get Blink poofed on and killed off very easily. So in this position, they almost have to kind of brute force these towers, but Undying and Jakiro are such a great turtling force.
Yeah, and also just the nature of the way Awake are taking these fights. Undying got a little hyper-aggressive there and dove, but it took so many forces from FD that it's worth it to trade a death on the support Undying split across 4 heroes of First Departure if that means Meepo has complete free run of the lanes in the jungle. And as we saw that whole time, he farmed up his Blink Dagger and already another 1,300 gold up on him. And it seems like every time Awake takes these skirmishes, and even if they don't come out ahead with a 0-for-1 trade or a 2-for-1, Meepo makes up for the difference by all that farm time. We will see him get jumped upon in the jungle here, but look how tanky he is. Instead of running this time, he'll turn it around. He'll go right on to Doff, and the poofs are way too much damage. Juggernaut, he has an Omni Slash, but what's it going to do against all these Meepos? The blink forward, the poofs in. I think this will be a dead Juggernaut. He has a TP scroll, but it just doesn't matter, and he'll get clicked down. That was a 2-on-1. Meepo turns it around, and he takes a twofer. He's now the one creating space as this bottom tier 1 tower taking heavy damage. The glyph comes out, but they'll get a 2-for-0 and a tier 1 tower kill out of that bout of aggression. Just absurd how big this Meepo is now.
I can really appreciate the overall strategy from Awake, though, because one of the biggest drawbacks for Meepo, other than the fact that he's extremely vulnerable and how easily one Meepo can die, is the aspect of experience. Experience across the team. Meepo is a very greedy hero. He soaks up experience for each clone individually and kind of takes a piece of that. But since he hasn't been involved in these fights, this has been 4v4 and 4v5 Dota for Awake, it means that that entire weakness is eliminated. He's able to clear out the jungle 100%, farm out a lane all he wants to, and while he's ramping up significantly, he's already level 16, it hasn't really set Awake back. They've drafted a lineup that can go 4-man. They're accomplishing just that, and now First Departure have to make something happen.
Yeah, Nori will get caught. Walrus punch to the face, but even this Razor's pretty damn tanky. He'll get mech'd up. He'll survive for now. The Omni Slash flying through, not enough for a kill. And now it's FD that are on the defensive. Tusk will fall off to the side, and now the Juggernaut will get locked in place. He's going to get taken down. Chaos caught by an Earthbind. All of the poofs for follow-up, and Juggernaut just DCs. He kicks his computer, pulls his plug, and a 3-for-0 means Awake take another team fight. And honestly, FD, what can they do at this point? How can they start regaining momentum to turn this game around? Yeah, you see the admin asking if they want to pause or just wait, and whew, this is very quickly getting out of control here, Blaze.
Absolutely. I mean, they did just pick up the Radiance on the Naga, so burn, baby, burn. They were able to put some damage in the team fight, but it's not enough to actually get that many kills. And really, in general, I look at a Naga Siren as a hero, and I say, okay, if she gets a Radiance before racks are down, she has a good chance of coming back. A really good chance, honestly. But in this situation, I'm not so convinced. Meepo is just such a strong hero. They've got all the heals that they need, that as long as Undying is on point with his Soul Rip and Mechanism usage, there isn't really a reason that Meepo dies unless there's really good movement from First Departure, in which case, as we've seen, Awake just get to do whatever they want with the other 4 heroes. So they're going to go for Roche. Aegis, absolutely insane on Meepo, and if they get that, it's going to be extremely hard for First Departure to defend any semblance of their home.
Yeah, I mean, they've already had trouble killing Meepo once, let alone twice. That seems like a little ambitious, but we'll see. Miracle still trying to come online. He now has the Radiance right around that 18-minute mark. And do you think this would have been a little bit different, Blaze, had Miracle gone for the true Radiance rush and opted not to go for the drums before completing his big farming tool?
It's a tough call. I do believe that it would have been much better timed, and he wouldn't have been picked off or anything like that. Like, you really look at it, he has 0 deaths right now, and all the songs have been used offensively. So I really don't think that he absolutely needed like the extra stats from Drum just to live, the extra stats from Aquila just to keep him farming. But at the same time, it's what he's more familiar with as far as like his mana pool. He gets the base regen, he gets the intelligence, and he just gets to spam that much more. So it's possible that if we're talking about ideal optimization in hindsight, that maybe the Radiance Pure Rush would have been better, but it's a very hard thing to judge right out the gate.
Yeah. You're definitely right that this is more of the signature Miracle style, where he really likes that drum first, and a lot of other Nagas will often get the Aquila but not commit fully to the drum. Sometimes you'll see that hybrid kind of grab a Bracer for that middle ground to get some extra stats and then go for the Radiance. But this is a situation where the Miracle style holding him back a little bit. Meepo just came online so much more quickly, and the net worth gap isn't what's too scary. It's more that experience gap, and now just how much more quickly Meepo can farm. Already 2,600 gold up on him with an ultimate orb. Miracle will secure a tier 1 tower kill in the top lane, so that's a nice little chunk of gold going to his team, which may help level things out a little bit. Glancing at the graphs, it's about 7,500 gold, 10,000 experience in favor of Awake.
Yeah, they are just in such a commanding position, and it's going to take some real coordination from First Departure to have any chance at coming back in this one. I mean, it's not even just the Meepo now. Like, it's insane to talk about a 660, 670 GPM hero, but nowhere down at bottom will be picked off, 8,000 stuns thrown his direction, and even a Lightning Remnant can't stand against that. So he'll be falling, but it doesn't even matter. Like 670 GPM Meepo, free farm across the map. He's going to have a Scotty or a Hex in a minute or two. Doesn't even need to really save for buyback because of the Aegis. And like, he just gets to do whatever the hell he wants. 200 last hits and all over the map.
Yeah. To be fair, Miracle is close to that 200 CS mark as well, about 185 under his belt. I'm still impressed with how well he's farmed, and even though Awake are in the lead now, they've only taken out tier 1 towers, and we are still far away from sealing the deal, as it were. Miracle will now grab, he had about 2,000 gold. Is this his BOTs coming? Yeah, it sure is. So that's that first big item on Naga. Usually you'll see BOTs and then the Yasha come out, get those movement speed items so that you can farm that much more effectively and then move into the survivability. That's where you go for your heart, your butterfly, and then maybe a utility like a diffusal if you want to burn some mana and get some extra damage as well. So FD, I guess at this point it's all about just biding time, making space for Miracle, finding picks wherever they can as they did on the Razor down in the bottom lane, and just try not to fall any further behind than they already are.
Yeah, in this position, I'm trying to think of a situation where even 1v5, they can bring down the Meepo twice because he's just so big right now. He's got 2,000 on the main. The clones aren't far behind, and he just has this huge output to the point that I almost want to make a Meepo custom game where you just have to one person is just microing like crazy against 5 different players, but he gets any item of his choice or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just like in this situation, he really is out of control.
Yeah, and the other problem is that FD just don't have a huge amount of lockdown. Miracle's still not skilling a point in Ensnare, and I think it's valuable just for the interrupt. So if there's a Meepo that's low and he's trying to poof away, you have at least one more tool to stop him from using that get-out-of-jail-free card. But if you take that out of the table, what do we have? Walrus Punch, Telekinesis, and not even Poison Touch because it's only level 1. If it was a level 4 Poison Touch, then you have that stun you can kind of use to interrupt. I guess Omni Slash on that first tick interrupts as well, but I mean, Meepo can just be so elusive with these poofs where even if they jump on him, some decent micro could be enough to keep him alive.
Absolutely. We're seeing desperation out of Dafa. Their hard carry Tusk on the tri lane is now going for a Vanguard, I think. And he honestly is an okay response considering how many different sources of attacks are coming in. But we see him getting picked off anyways. With the Earthbind connecting, this should be his death. Even, it depends on the next Earthbind, I guess.
All right, BSR does not connect with the poof combo, but will bring all of his Meepos to the fray. One of them gets caught by the Ice Shards, but there is no follow-up whatsoever. Miracle will interrupt this mid lane with one of his illusions, so that will delay the potential push coming in here. They only got one creep wave, so if they can bring the tower down in one fell swoop, then perhaps they can do it. But Miracle doing a good job creating space for his team and also finding a lot of farm while he's doing it. Now just about to complete his Yasha, but he actually is TP scrollless right now. So Miracle is pretty committed to his positioning and won't be back to defend. Oh, what am I talking? He has BOTs. I'm such an idiot. I'm so sorry. Scratch all of that. Strike it from the record, Blaze. He has BOTs. He will be able to come back to defend. But Awake are getting more aggressive here.
Yeah, this is how Miracle likes to play the style. Is essentially you can't break through backdoor protection, and he's not going to give you the opportunity to eliminate it. No creep waves will be hitting these towers, and therefore the towers will not fall, is his mentality. So from this position, he is essentially this rat that has to be put down. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to really get anything positive with this Aegis. He's going to try to do this for 6 minutes straight. I don't know if he can manage it, even with the song BOTs. He has got to just play out of his mind. He's got to play his own personal style to perfection. And while we've seen it from him in the past, they're broaching on him right now. One silence and he's gone. But they don't know which one's real.
Yep, they'll find the Razor, and that'll be the first kill. But oh, in comes the Meepo. Tazzle gets destroyed in a matter of seconds. And now they'll press forward. They're still looking for the real Miracle. They'll ping him out. They see him TP home. but they can't interrupt it, and it'll end as a 1-for-1 trade. The rest of FD on the back foot. They will TP home. Earthbind's flying like crazy, and they find no heroes in the trees. So first departure, I think they'll be okay with that trade. A support Dazzle for the farming Razor. Not a game-breaking trade, but every little bit counts at this point. I think the real story is that Miracle survives his deep commitment.
Yeah, and he doesn't even go home. He goes immediately to top lane, pushes out that wave, and the illusions are at work again. This is just the biggest nuisance in the world, but it's what they needed to do to survive this Aegis. The difficulty has passed, the Aegis is gone, and now Meepo is again vulnerable to actually being picked off. With a good smoke movement, with Tusk, Juggernaut getting their full combos off, I think that there is some real potential to kill him off, but it has to be soon before he gets a heart.
I think one of the bigger problems for FD now is just experience. We talked about the Walrus Punch. Spellsteal is now level 2, but Dazzle, Juggernaut, and Tusk all struggling to find experience right now. We see 3 level 8s and a level 9, and sure, the supports on Awake are pretty low level as well, but they make up for it because of the Meepo. He's there. He has that extra experience, and he's putting it to good use. FD, on the other hand, that's just an area where they're pretty far behind. 14,000 experience deficit right now, and they need that damage. The extra bounces from the Omni Slash, that extra burst damage from the Walrus Punch, these are key abilities that they need to take successful team fights.
Miracle's still trying to be as aggravating as he can with these illusions, but they do have a limited duration. They will dispel, and he's not in a really good position to keep it going. Right now, he's in his own jungle, so every time the illusions push out there, they're going to be venturing the long road to try to keep the backdoor protection at bay. But he does pick up his Manta style, has been farming pretty insane, and as long as he doesn't need to buy back anytime soon, that's going to be a tremendous pickup for him, as they do just add that much more potential to his wrap.
Meepo will hit that ceiling, though, reasonably soon. He is level 22, and then once he hits level 25, that's when you see things start to level out a little bit more, and Miracle will have this window to try and close the gap before they both get 6 slotted. It seems Awake are kind of privy to that bottleneck, and they will press forward. Meepo gets Telekinesis to start things off. Dazzle throws out a defensive weave that does clip the main Meepo, and with that, Awake will just choose to back out. Miracle is on the defensive now. No illusions interrupting the flow of creeps. The classic Miracle strategy that kept them safe last time Awake were in this position will not be available here. Instead, Awake will just back out, or will they? Meepo hops forward, finds the Juggernaut, and will bring him down. Rubik looking to TP home, perhaps. Will get caught by a set of Earthbinds. Finds himself in a shallow grave, but to little avail as he falls as soon as it expires. It will be a 2-for-1 trade. The Jakiro got picked off by the Naga in the fray as we were following the Meepo. And whoa, he'll blink forward, looking for the Dazzle now. Some Earthbinds are available. The Weave comes out. Mech gets popped from the Undying. He'll let the Dazzle live, but moves to the Tusk. Poofs forward, and he might take a Walrus Punch, but he will take the life of Tusk with him.
And he can go on Dazzle here with Blink.
Points no problem. And oh, Dazzle, you silly Willy. No grave available, and he will fall. Miracle, though, he's cleaning up the dire side. He finds a solo kill on Razor while we're watching this. Now, they can't even hit this tier 3 tower. The tier 2 is still standing. Song of the Siren. BSR may have bit off more than he can chew here. A couple of low Meepos. Can they finish him off, though? He needs to get these low Meepos out of here. He will poof back to safety. Or will he? Miracle coming in. Low on mana. Takes a Hex. Now Juggernaut on his way out. The Meepos looking to poof. They will survive. BSR. Nicely done. The support from Undying. So useful here. The mech plus the pipe. Keeping him completely safe, and Awake just don't get punished for that hyper-aggression.
Yeah, that pipe allowed him to blink away. That was pretty huge. So he was going to die there if he didn't get the assistance that he needed. And Undying, he's got his back. No problem at all. So, again, they're having trouble taking tier 2s, but they have absolutely no qualms with diving the base past the tier 4s and say, this is pretty much at my turf now. But, yeah, Naga Siren does what she can on the backside. Farms up 1,900 more gold, but I mean, at this point, it's got to be like the most insane comeback. If we look at the graphs, just they're so far behind, and this Meepo is one of the most imbalanced heroes when he gets to this level. Like, he's going to have Heart, and then he's going to move towards maybe an E-Blade, and from there, there's just no response.
Yeah. He's, wow, really close to the Heart. Already has the Reaver, and another 4,500 gold to spare. We saw that Scythe come in handy, and that bout of aggression there as well. What's Miracle working on? 2,200 gold on him, so hasn't picked up his next item, but I reckon he'll want to tank up a little bit more. We do see a Gem of True Sight purchased by the Dazzle and just sitting on the courier for now. But of course, Naga, one of the best gem carriers may see Miracle just kind of micro it back and forth to clear out wards, and then keep it on the courier. I doubt he'll carry it around, but still great for ward clearing.
So one thing I want to point out real quick, we've been talking about low levels a lot as far as what Awake have and what First Departure have, but right now YO2, the Jakiro, is level 7 and hasn't skilled up his Macro Pyre, and I actually have a feeling that he might not bother with it all game long, because it is actually the best steal in the game for a Rubik who's approaching his Aghanim Scepter, and I think that the Jakiro might just not want to trifle with that whatsoever. He'll just say, keep on stealing Ice Path and leave my LTB.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to point out, but you're certainly right. We commented that this Rubik pick seemed kind of out of left field because there weren't a lot of huge abilities to steal, and Jakiro was our poster child of scary abilities that Rubik will be all over. And I think that's a really smart heads-up play, one you don't think about too often, but here's a rare scenario where Macro Pyre can possibly do more damage to you than you will do with it.
Yeah, but for right now, it's just been Rubik spell stealing Plasma Field like 100 times this game, and he just gets nothing out of it. It's just like, it's an okay spell. It's not bad, but this is not what you want from a Rubik that you prioritized in the safe lane farming position. There's so many better heroes that you could have put in that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's the one thing if there was a Doom or a Tidehunter or at least one, like one or two really big abilities, but they're just not here this game. And even the Ag Scepter, aside from the Macro Pyre, I mean, what does this Ags? I guess if he manages to steal Eye of the Storm, he'll be able to push towers, but not an easy ability to steal. And as you mentioned, it forces Rubik into an odd position. So I feel like this Ag Scepter pick is almost a little bit of a waste on the Rubik as well.
Yeah, I mean, the cooldown reduction is insane, so that's really good to just kind of spam out various spells, but the only spell that's really worth it on is the Mystic Flare. Oh, actually, we see Nagasiren takes the big hits here. The silence will come out on her. He's going for the base in full, but can he actually get a TP song? There's the song, there's the TP, like just barely has enough mana, but of course the Roche has already fallen.
Yeah, so it doesn't come for free. Tries to create some space, again, interrupting the lanes as we've seen him do a couple of times. But BSR now 25, another Aegis in tow, has his heart complete, and 5,000 gold on him. He is effectively 6-slotted for the time being, at least until he loses the Aegis. I guess he could get rid of these treads and grab some BOTs if he wants to be even more mobile. But Meepo's hit that ceiling now, and I think this is the time when Awake has to do something, either some kind of crippling damage, find a kill on Miracle, because Miracle still has a long ways to go before he's capped out. And there's only so much more Meepo can make out of all this farm that he's found.
That's very true. There is a certain critical mass, which is going to actually be used against you pretty well. We do see BSR picking up Dafa with the Hex here on the mid, and that should set up the tier 2, possibly tier 3 pretty easily. But Miracle is going to try to cut the creep wave and make sure that this one wave is all they're going to get. Anyways, he's got most of his major items right now, BOTs, and then he'll turn the Aegis maybe into a E-Blade as a last item. Scotty we've also seen, but otherwise there's really nowhere progressive to go from there, and yeah, you just kind of have to wait it out. So Chaos here, he's trying to defend with Plasma Field while Miracle pushes out the waves, and the creeps are gone, but the backdoor protection will remain off until they leave the base.
Yep, and there's still actually one hero creep still alive, and that'll make things even easier. Melee racks will fall very easily here. Range Rex will go down shortly after, and Miracle tries his best to create some space, but his efforts are unsuccessful. The mech from Undying enough to keep the creeps alive long enough to breach the base, and without Miracle here, or Tusk, First Departure just can't make a defense, and just speak of the devil as we talk about crippling damage. Awake easily find a set of racks after a simple pick off from the Meepo.
Yeah,
and there's the BOTs we were talking about.
They got the BOTs, they've got the Aegis for a very long time, and the only way I could see First Departure clearing this one out, other than the most insane Nagasiren we've ever seen in our entire lives, is if the Rubik is able to steal the Mystic Flare and just drops like 3 on top of a big target. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, you're right. That is the only other ultimate. Flesh Golem does have an Ag Scepter upgrade, so he could steal Flesh Golem, but again, another very difficult ability to steal just because Undying's other abilities are low cooldown and very, very spammable. That's one that just, I think Rubik would consider himself lucky to steal the Flesh Golem.
Sure. And Flesh Golem and Eye of the Storm both require you to be actually on the front lines, and you're going to live 2 seconds flat to a Meepo of this
At least the Flesh Golem, it helps a little bit. I Actually, no, not really. Nah, I take that back. It doesn't do anything. You're right. They're both terrible for Rubik. I'm trying to find a positive here for this Rubik. I'm trying as hard as I can, but
no.
it's rough stuff. Miracle, though, he's in big trouble. He'll need a miracle to survive this one. Manages to get off the Song of the Siren, and we'll just TP home. But they are really neutering his aggression at this point. Right away, Awake respond with pressure on this Tier 2 tower. They know Miracle's not there to interrupt their flow of creeps, and they are ready to get aggressive. Meepo hops straight forward, doesn't find a kill, but completely zones out first departure, and will at the very least secure a Tier 2 tower kill. Dafa hops in with a snowball, and that just seems a little ambitious. He will get a shallow grave,
tusk
but
you've ever seen. Like,
how
more fucked can a tusk be right there? That is absolutely, insanely the saddest thing you can see.
This Meepo, 11-1-1, 4 ones across the board right now, going out in style as they press forward into the top Tier 3 now. Knocking on the front door of the base. Miracle wrapping around the side, looking for an opening. Has Song of the Siren cooling down in about 5 seconds. Does now have level 2 defusal, so some mana burn utility and some extra damage. But is it enough? No glyph available. Meepo going hard on this tower. Chikiro there with the liquid fire. Still no points in the macro. And in comes Naga from the backside. Song of the Siren is up. And looking for the initiation. They will go on to Chikiro. Not sure which Naga is the real one, but it's still just a Chikiro. Song of the Siren comes out. Range racks have already fallen, and there's just no follow-up here. What can they do? That's the reset, and now they'll just have to watch their base take heavy casualties. Meepo hops forward. A lot of damage on the Dazzle as he falls. Rubik gets silenced and could suffer a similar fate here. As the Earthbinds connect, the poof forward. Rubik almost says goodnight as he finds himself in a shallow grave. Juggernaut now possibly in some trouble as well. Walrus Punch flies through. Meepo in some trouble. That'll proc the Aegis. Skyrath and Undying get cleaned up around the backside from the Naga Siren as they focus the racks. Meepo, the hero left. Can he make it happen and then make the escape? Doesn't look like it. He will just have to make an escape.
He's got Eye of the Storm on him right now. That is insane.
Yep, and the weave ticking him down. That really hurts. That will be a repelled Awake, but still they get what they came for here, Blaze. They got the top lane of racks, and 2 lanes of racks to nil is rough to recover from.
Yeah, I mean, even in a balanced game, this would be extremely difficult, but I don't really feel like they're on even terms right now. Naga Siren, trying as she may, like, she's going to approach 6 and 7 slots with courier play pretty soon, and it's still not going to be enough. Like, from this position, you can go for, like, Butterfly, you can go for Daedalus if you want, like, hero-based damage, but in this position, the Heart into, like, Necronomicon and AC play seems to make more sense, because at least then you get some potential to siege, potential to kill the racks while that's going on. Otherwise, I don't know, Refresher Orb, like, I'm trying to theorycraft the best possible way to pull out of this situation, and other than letting Meepo overextend and die unnecessarily, which I don't think BSR will allow to happen again, I don't see anything but just going for buildings alone.
Yeah, and even down bottom, they try to gank the Skyrath, and that doesn't happen. He turns it around, does some damage, and then TP's home to safety. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Nori and Miracle going blow for blow. Nori pops his BKB, steals a little bit of damage, and that will be enough to repel the Naga, at least temporarily. That is a Heart of Tarrasque complete on Miracle, so he's now tanked up about 3,000 hit points on him. So getting scarier, but still not quite on point with Mr. Meepo here, who now has another Ultimate Orb. Looks like it will be a Scotty for BSR. I think he's going to pull for buyback, but continuing to tank up. He's still one-upping Miracle at about 3,500 hit points.
Yeah, Manta's okay too, but I definitely prefer Scotty here, and I think he probably will as well. Real Miracle on the front lines without buyback, just playing with fire, but might actually be able to bring down, yeah, the Fire Nice Dragon in the process. So, nice little pick-off, continuing to delay things, continuing to get farm, but will it be worth it in the end?
Yeah, well, at least finds a kill, and we'll try to split the lanes. I like that Miracle is staying aggressive with his positioning, but needs to be somewhat careful. If he gets picked off with without buyback, like you mentioned, that could be the end of this game. He'll find a kill now on the Skyrath Mage, Song of the Siren, and TP's home. Miracle Dota, ladies and gentlemen. Finds 2 solo kills and just heads back to the base.
Well, there you go. Just create the space for the team. Like we said, Meepo's as big as he can get right now. He literally can't get any bigger. You can sell the Blink Dagger and have more damage, but then you don't have that range of initiation that you want. So he's not going to do that. At this point in time, he might switch over to Courier Dota himself, pick up some Necros or whatever, but as it is, he is as big as it gets, and this is where they just kind of have to push an end. It's not too difficult when you've already got 2 lanes down, but it is their one requirement that FD might try to deny.
Yeah. A reasonably fast Roche timer here, about 40 seconds after the initial timer there. So Awake will probably wait it out and then move into the Roche pit. I'm not sure who will take the Aegis this time. Meepo sure as hell can't carry it, so someone else will have to. They're going for the Earthbinds onto the Naga. She does have the ultimate cooling down in just a couple of seconds. Earthbinds connect this time, but Miracle will be able to just Song TP out as he's done, unless they can crowd control him down. The Hex gets used. Mystic Flare is off the mark, but the Ice Path is there. Unfortunately, just half a second too late. He still manages to get off the Song and will TP back to safety. A very close call. If that Ice Path was just a second earlier, they might have actually been able to bring down Miracle and seal the deal.
Still, it shouldn't be a hard push into the base from now. Unless the Meepo does something completely insane, then they should be able to just finish this one off with a full push in. They got the Roshan back up as well, which I think is what they were waiting for the most part. Yeah, in this position, they take the Roche. There's nothing to stop them without the Song. And the question is, do you actually pick up the Aegis on Meepo? Do you like sell a Blink Dagger and pick up that second life? Or do you just leave it as is and give it to maybe the Razor?
Yeah, I feel like giving it to the Razor is the better bet here, especially now that he has BKB. He can stay in these fights and not worry about getting crowd controlled and do a lot of damage. If he comes back on that second life. I feel like the Blink is just too core for the Meepo. He needs that long range to initiate, to hop on those supports, and they'll do just that. Razor is the one to grab the Aegis, and where's the cheese go? Mr. Undying.
Cool. And also Meepo has buyback BOT, so it's kind of like giving an Aegis to a Wraith King. Is this kind of redundancy where you're like, okay, we've already got a lot of Meepos in this fight. Do we need another wave? If two Meepo waves and two Razors aren't going to be able to do the trick, then what the hell is? I don't really know. But you see Nagasiren dueling it out with the real Meepo. He's got to realize he's taking more damage than he expected, but I just don't... obviously, Miracle always has that Song available, and the Skywrath is the only one who has an answer for that, and Naga has two answers for the Skywrath. You silence him, he's going to Manta or Diffusal that off, and suddenly he's in clean territory.
Yep. Yeah, now Meepo will join the party down bottom. Miracle finally grabs that value point and Ensnare. I thought he may try to interrupt that last Meepo coming out, but nope, just goes for that tier 2 tower in the mid lane. They will exchange tier 2 for tier 2. This is the last outer tower for first departure, and could be their departure in this game here if they can't make a hold. This is their last lane of racks. Miracle did get some lane control in the mid, but the top is starting to shove into the base. And backdoor protection will not be an issue here as they mech up the creeps and prepare to breach the high ground. There's a Meepo back in the mid lane repelling. But oh no! Undying gets caught. That'll be the way they start off this fight. Now the Meepos press forward. They'll go in onto Naga. Song of the Siren available, but now comes the Hex. The Silence. Snowball comes out. Will keep him alive at least for now. That's the reset tool they needed. Walrus Punch onto the Meepo. Song of the Siren finally flies through. Now where did first departure go? The Eye of the Storm still chipping through, and that'll be the end of the song. Now they press forward. Skywrath falls. Dafa as well as Jakiro get picked off in the base. Dazzle gets off the grave onto Juggernaut, and he will survive as he TP's back. Naga's still alive, but so is the Meepo. It looks like this will be a repel from first departure. A buyback comes out. They proc the Aegis as Miracle leaves the base. Now Meepo in some trouble as he tries to TP home. And he'll get interrupted. This should be a dead Meepo right here. Down he goes. Miracle secures it. It's a godlike streak for Miracle. And first departure make the hold that they needed.
That was so clutch. The solo tick pickoff was just a bad positioning from Undying. He got caught in by the ice shards there, and they pulled him forward. But after that, it was a very well-orchestrated fight from first departure. Rubik being the prime player there. He not only stole Eye of the Storm right off the bat and had that going the whole time, but then he stole I can't even think of the spell, Earthbind, and dropped it down on everyone. That set up the Ice Path, which he immediately stole after the fact, and then he finally got the steal on the Skywrath Mage ultimate. He only got to use it once, but even still, Mystic Flare does a lot of damage with even one cast, and then finally, of course, they were just able to clean it up with some great TP cancels. Just good usage of their few stunts that they have, and that value 1 point Ensnare if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Naga will just dive the tier 3 tower once this kill on Skywrath, and will find it. Miracle now 12-0-6. Having a flawless game so far, chipping at the tier 3. The rest of the dire forces will come in, but without a Meepo, Miracle really does not seem too intimidated right now. He's still just chipping at the tower as they chip away at him. Heart of Tarask will help him out as he can regenerate up and pops the illusions, goes right back for it. Song of the Siren for good measure, I suppose. Jakiro taking some damage, but will not fall, and Miracle will just top out.
Yeah, I love the way Miracle plays the Naga Siren and the song. Actually, he did finish him off at the tail end of it. Jakiro didn't make it back to the base. Too much burn.
Oh, my.
But
This
yeah,
is
I
that
love
point
the way
where Naga illusions are just too big compared to the supports. They're individual heroes, and it's so potent. Juggernaut has also picked up an Ag Scepter, so that's extra bounces in the Omni Slash, and also just extra time that he finds himself invulnerable in these team fights, which actually is pretty important as he is not the tankiest of forces. Naga now with the Butterfly to go with her Heart of Tarask, and Miracle is 6 slotted.
Absolutely. Now, one really cool way Miracle uses the Song of the Siren that a couple of SCA players and some Western players as well are beginning to adopt, but it's still in its kind of basic stage, is how the Song of the Siren can be used to not hit the buildings, but to hit everything that's right in front of the buildings. Essentially, 3 or 4 people go on the Naga Siren in song range, actually getting hexed up here on top lane. That could be really bad. Going in, all that damage coming forth. The song is there, but the damage over time. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Wow, Razor secures it with the Eye of the Storm and grabs a 1,400 gold bounty for bringing down Miracle. That's his first death of the game, and it's about damn time, as they like to say. Miracle does have a buyback, so this will not be a game-ending push, at least I don't think so, but steps in the right direction if they can do that once more, maybe force out a buyback here, and then that will be the nail in the coffin, I think. But they'll have to kill that Naga at least once more, if not twice.
Yeah, it's pretty big, a tall order, but with this Meepo as farmed as he is, it's obviously plausible. They get the Hex off, and that was huge. They still almost didn't finish him off because they don't have any Sheep Sticks to follow that up or anything like that. But yeah, for now, they're going to force the buyback. That's what their movement here is all about, and they might be able to finish off for Mega Creeps.
Yep. Here we go. Fight breaks out. Buyback from Miracle. KS taking a lot of damage. Will get a grave to buy some time. And Miracle hops right back in the fray. They isolate the Meepo in the front lines, and they will go for him. A lot of damage coming out, but Dazzle will fall. He buys back straight away as well. Dafa takes the silence. Miracle is still alive in the fray. He is forced to retreat. Macro Pyre gets leveled by the Jakiro in the middle of the fight. That secures the Tier 3 tower, and even though Miracle's alive, he has no Song of the Siren. Finally pops it out. Will keep the structures alive. Eye of the Storm chipping away at him. But there is a weave ticking up. Melee racks fall. Range racks will go down now as there's no glyph, and that's it. Mega creeps come out, and it looks like this will be the end of First Departure. They will be able to hold it, compliments of the Naga illusions, but they are on their last leg.
Yeah, that definitely sets them back even further, but I wouldn't say they're that much further out of the game than they were 2 minutes ago. Mega Creeps is big, but Naga Siren is bigger than the Creeps. It's got to be the Meepo that really pushes in and finishes off these Tier 4s and finishes off this Ancient. So this is one of the few games where it's not a resounding GG just because the last Rax falls, and we'll have to see what Miracle can do with it. He doesn't have buyback for 4.5 minutes, almost 5 full minutes, because he just recently used it. And Roche will be respawning in 2 to 5 minutes as well. These are the big things to consider, other than just the Creequilibrium that we do see across the map.
Yes, and you know, I can't help but think I underestimated the power of these illusions. They are easily handling the Mega Creeps, at least so far. These are the smaller creeps, but we'll see how they handle the big ones coming in. Regardless, they're just illusions. That's the big thing. They can tank them like they're regular heroes, and you don't have to worry about all that pesky damage and running back to the well. They can let the illusions tank it up. So, interesting. If First Departure can turn this around, oh boy.
My goodness.
A Mega Creep turnaround blaze, that would be quite titillating.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some crazy stats that K-Pop-Toasters has thrown out left and right about, like, if there's only one rack standing, how few games actually turn around to that kind of comeback. And I could imagine the same vein of thought
with
for
Megas.
actually full Mega Creeps. That would, it seems nigh impossible, but it does happen.
Happens very rarely in situations like this where you have a great turtling hero like Naga and then someone with immense pushing power. And here, 50 minutes in, we're getting towards that part of the game where if either team gets wiped up, the structures just melt under the power of the heroes. Even for Awake, if they get cleaned up and are caught without a buyback on the Meepo, Miracle can very quickly truck these structures, and they don't even have to worry about the side lanes where there's Tier 2s standing. If FD take a good fight and get a full wipe, they'll just go straight up the mid lane and push for the win.
Yeah, but check out their positioning right now. They're just camping the Roche pit. It's going to be a relatively early spawn, 30 seconds in the making, and yeah, they're all in position for it. The only one a little bit out is the Razor. He's going to come right back into it, and yeah, they're waiting for it. Hopefully they'll see it soon. The Sigil is destroyed, so First Departure don't know. They won't be able to prevent, and that is going to give Awake the opening to fight in with full Aegis and Cheese once more.
Mm-hmm. Now, Meepo is at about 12,000 gold, 11.5k. is there any other luxury item that you can think of to upgrade here? I mean, is there a point where you like dump an Ag Scepter for something better, or I mean, any of these items replaceable, or is Meepo truly completely capped out here?
I do like Ethereal Blade because not only is it a good item utility-wise, but it gives you 40 agility, the highest in the game, so you are able to do the most possible damage with all your clones. But his current set is pretty much equivalent value to that. It's really just a matter of preference from that point forward. So Ethereal Blade is another item I would add to that list of what he has already, but you would never drop the Ags. It gives your Meepos 100%. It gives you that extra clone. You need it.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. This time, though, the Aegis goes the way of Undying, which is a little bit different, but I guess Razor, is he capped out here? Yeah, he doesn't really have an open... Well, he does have an open slot, but they give Razor the cheese, and they say, you know what, Undying, you're kind of our front liner now. You've become our tank. Meepo needs to be our counter-initiator, so we'll give you a second life. And also important because if Undying gets caught like he did last time, he's carrying the pipe and the mech. And the mech not quite as big a deal at this stage in the game, but the pipe is a pretty big
Top
deal.
lane. Smoking on Meepo to get the ensnare.
And will the follow-up damage be here, though? The snowball flying through. BSR takes a walrus punch. They've got the burst damage to bring him down. And that is a dead Meepo in the grave for 65 seconds. And I think Awake will be okay with being patient for now, and they'll just let that cooldown respawn. No reason to burn a buyback and get hyper-aggressive. Still plenty of time on the Aegis. But still a nice pick from First Departure. That will buy them at least another minute.
Yeah, most definitely. Meepo has a quick respawn time, so it isn't the most crucial thing, especially since he always has gold for buyback at this point in the game. But I don't know. Miracle has pulled out some insane wins before. He's building up this refresher orb, and once he gets that, we'll get to see his real potency and potential with this ability, the Song of the Siren. Using 2 songs in a fight, or better, in lieu of a fight, enables him to just absolutely ignore what Awake brings to the table and go straight in for the structures. Take the tier 3, take the racks, and even the throne with illusions alone while the enemy takes a nap. It's actually a really cool way of using it as like this massive disable, and it is the ultimate rat play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's certainly true. We've seen it be the make it or break it in big games such as this in the past. And I shouldn't say big game. This is a best of one in the opening group stages of Starladder, but a big game in the sense of we've got mega creeps that are being held off right here. This is turning into an interesting stalemate. Rubik moving into a Bloodstone now as he has a soul booster following the Ags. Dafa desperately looking for some item progression here. Tusk still only has Arcane Boots and a Vanguard. He has just been completely starved this game. It appears he's going for a 4th staff, I would imagine, with that Staff of Wizardry, but he is just struggling to find even a basic level of farm at this point.
Mm-hmm. I'm really surprised none of the Awake supports have picked up a Diffusal Blade to just one-shot any of the Nagasaran illusions. It seems really important to kind of pin those down because they do take a lot of swings just to bring down innately, and on the creep wave, you can see now the Radiance Burn still takes its toll. So, yeah, I kind of feel like instant way to purge that out would be much preferable, but it's all too late for that now. We move in, we see the refresher come out for the Naga. She does not have buyback, and this is going to be the all-in play from both sides.
Yeah, this truly is the all-in. How far away is he from buyback? Only 200 gold. Oh, no. Well, here we go. Tier 4 is the only thing standing between Awake and victory. They'll press forward. Nagasiren in the front lines. The glyph comes out already. Feels like a bit of a premature glyph. And Awake looking for the right opening here. They will be somewhat cautious. Mystic Flare comes out onto the Skywrath. Rubik gives him a taste of his own medicine, and they bring him down. But now Miracle gets caught. Will be forced to use the first song right away. Meepos caught in a forward position. But what do FD do from here? Where's the follow-up? They don't have any. Miracle will refresh it. He has his Diffusal on the ground. Second song of the Siren is online. And again, where's the follow-up here, though? This is just buying them time. But can they turn it around? Doesn't look like it. Macro Pyre comes out before the Jakiro falls. One of the tier 4s is down. Meepo just going for the tier 4 towers. That'll be the end of the Undying. Procs the Aegis. He will be able to come back. They're not even going for Miracle. They'll let him stand. It's just the throne that they want. Meepo is all in for it right now. Damage coming out. If they can bring down the Meepo, they will be able to hold. Meepo, he's clicking it down. It'll be a close call, but the Meepo falls. Naga brings him down, and there is a chance they can hold this here. Miracle is still standing. Razor with the ultimate online, chipping away at it, but he's going to get pushed into the well. He will die. Meepo buys back. BOT's back in, and that'll be the end of it. If Meepo didn't have a buyback there, that could have been a hold, but Meepo just too damn strong, Blaze.
Meepo Imba! Man, this is such a fucking good game. This is like the rat get plays from these two teams, BSR and from Miracle. Extremely impressive, super late game dominance. It's really gods walking among mere mortals when it comes down to it. The Naga Siren and the Meepo, the 3 tiers above the rest. It's just pretty much everything that they do changes the fight, but unfortunately, Naga Siren's Refresher didn't really make that much of an impact. It gave the Weave a little bit more time, but otherwise, like, it was just delaying a fight that they couldn't take in the first place. Yeah, without the second wave of Meepos, sure, that would have been fine, but BOTs and the fact that he had 12,000 gold banked, yeah, that's going to be plenty to buy back into it. So he gets the second wave, he gets the throne, and they take the game. Very well played from Awake here in Starladder Season 10.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And without any further ado, we'll have a quick break, guys. Our next match is already up and ready to start, so we will have a break. And then coming up next will be our last game of the day here for Day 2 of Starladder. Thank you for joining us, and don't go anywhere. More Dota comes up next.